In this Police Academy podcast, looking at the exam notes of guidance, I'd like to highlight a few important points. Dressing professionally. That means, gents, I would suggest you wear a collar and tie. Ladies, smart wear. No jackets, you'll be too hot with it. You want to be comfortable as well as looking professional. Speaking of which, last year we had a student came to us because they'd failed the previous year, having gone in wearing jeans and t-shirt. They wanted to be comfortable, but in doing so they failed to look and feel professional. So look professional, feel professional, be professional. Convincing yourself is the first step to convincing the assessor. You need to take all the necessary documentation with you. Does your warrant card look anything like you at all? Don't forget your assessment notice. Every year, people do. Don't let it be you. Even if you can overcome the issue, you're going to feel really uncomfortable and stressed even more than you will be feeling having just arrived at the exam. Speaking of which, you need to get there on time. If you arrive late, you certainly will miss out on the day, and you'll have to demonstrate an exceptional reason for that lateness. And if you're then very lucky, there'll be a space on a date later in the exam season, but you'll be pushing your luck. If you can identify ahead of the exam day that you will not be able to attend for a very important reason, then contact the NPIA. Ring them on 01423 87 66 33. That number is in the documentation. The declaration. The invigilator will invite every candidate who's taking the exam to sign it. No signature, no exam. And if you sign the declaration, there will be virtually no reason that will be accepted later if you wish to appeal against the result. If you're feeling sick, you'll need to prove it with documentation from your GP, and then you can seek a date later in that exam season when you can take the exam. Or if you are so unwell that you won't be able to take the exam during the season, then you need a certificate from your force medical officer, and then you can apply to take the Part 2 next year, without having lost one of your 3 chances in this present season. The same applies for welfare issues, for example, bereavement. If you've been recently bereaved, then you need to be able to say so and try and get a free pass if you don't think you can focus properly on the exam. If you sign the declaration and take the exam, then later on that excuse or reason will not be accepted. Rare examples when you might be able to appeal. Well, perhaps the rollouter got the exam very, very wrong, lost their words, lost focus. Maybe the fire alarm in the hotel went off immediately as the scenarios were running along. If something extraordinary happens, you need to tell the invigilator this at the debrief immediately after the exam is finished. If you just don't turn up on exam day, then not only will you not be successful, but you will also lose your Part 1 pass. So it's important to make contact with the NPIA. What can you take into the exam? You can take pens, you can take pencils, you can take highlighters. You cannot take paper, phones, even as a timer. You cannot take an MP3 player. You might be listening to a podcast like this, perhaps. You can take a Police Academy muted timer. That's absolutely fine. One more thought about sickness. If you are on sick leave or you are assessed to work restricted duties at the time of the exam, you will require a certificate from your force medical officer that says you are fit to take the exam. We were working with a student last year who had a real problem getting an appointment with their FMO. They rang me in a panic. My suggestion was to speak with their line manager to temporarily review their restricted status. That's what they did. They didn't need the certificate. They were able to take the exam fine. The vast majority of these issues will not affect students. The rules have been developed fairly, really, to overcome various ruses that have been tried out by officers to circumvent a fair exam and a fair result. You've worked hard for this exam. You won't need excuses. It's important to understand the system, though. The main point to remember is if you're not well enough to take the exam because of fitness or welfare, speak to the NPIA early, seek a later date in the season, or a free pass to next year's exam. Your Force Ospre liaison officer can normally assist further. If you want help from me or advice, call me. My mobile number is 07500 946 911 and it's at the bottom of all my emails. You may well, at this point, be feeling a tad stressed. That is completely normal, and you can channel that extra energy. just look at our chapter on the Learning Resource Centre called Exam Stress. Good luck.